The 2022 NHL Draft is officially in the books, and it was definitely pretty entertaining, especially early on. Shane Wright didn't go first overall, he didn't go second overall, third overall, he fell to number 4, went to Seattle. That was a big shocker. But in this video, we're not going to be reviewing the draft picks themselves because I'll admit I'm not the greatest when it comes to prospects. I really start following players once they are drafted into the NHL, not really as much before. There's definitely some other better channels out there if you want to learn about guys heading into a draft. In this video, we're going to be going over all of the trades that took place at the NHL Draft, and there was a good bit of them. Obviously, not going to be talking about the DeBrincat one in this video because that got its own video last night, so go check that video out if you have not seen it yet. That was definitely the biggest deal of the past 24 hours, but still a lot of things to talk about, so let's get started. So the first two trades we're going to talk about are actually connected, both involving the Montreal Canadiens. The first of the two, they sent defenseman Alexander Romanov along with their 4th round pick to the New York Islanders for the 13th overall pick. I'm going to be honest, I don't like that trade for the New York Islanders at all. I guess Lou Lamoriello is pretty high on Romanov and expects him to step right into the lineup next season and be a contributor, most likely in the top 4. I mean, I can't see you giving up a 13th overall pick for a guy you don't plan on having a pretty large role. Obviously, Romanov is still very young, has a lot of potential, and has shown flashes at the NHL level for sure. I just feel like 13th overall is a very rich price to pay. But now moving on to the other part of this deal, the Montreal Canadiens would then flip that 13th overall pick and also tie it together with their 66th overall pick, so a second rounder, and send that to the Blackhawks for Kirby Dach. The Bell Center was absolutely electric when Gary Bettman announced these deals, obviously because they're both involving the Montreal Canadiens, and I honestly think this is a nice bit of work by Montreal, and it makes sense now kind of that they didn't draft Shane Wright, in my opinion, if they had the intention of going out and getting a Kirby Dach. If Kirby Dach can live up to his potential, obviously there's no guarantee that he will, but if he does, or even comes close to the potential everyone thought he had when he was originally selected by the Blackhawks, then that 1-2 punch down the middle of Suzuki and Dach moving forward into the future, along with wingers like Cole Caulfield and now Slafkovsky, that's going to be pretty lethal. Kirby Dach has definitely struggled a little bit throughout his first few seasons in the NHL, but he's also had stretches where he looks like he can be a dominant offensive player. He has all the tools. I really think this is a risk well worth taking if you're the Montreal Canadiens. It's not like that 13th overall pick was going to be their only pick in the first round. They had already selected first overall, obviously. And again, if Kirby Dach fulfills his potential, Slafkovsky is the beast that everybody expects him to be, this 2022 NHL Draft could have really sped up Montreal's rebuilding process. The next trade we have to talk about is between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Chicago Blackhawks. A pure cap dump here from the Maple Leafs. They send Peter Mrazek along with the 25th overall pick, so their first round selection, to the Hawks in exchange for the Blackhawks' 38th overall pick, so their second rounder. Not a whole lot to dissect when it comes to this trade. I tweeted out when I saw the trade happen that I've seen worse cap dumps for sure, and I still feel that way. I've definitely seen worse cap dumps than this. Toronto moved down 13 spots to rid themselves of that Peter Mrazek contract. I think that's completely fine. And Kyle Dubas also said they were really confident the guy they wanted with the 25th overall pick was still going to be there when they selected 38th overall. So I guess it really didn't make a difference to him. And for the Hawks, obviously this makes a lot of sense when you consider the direction they're heading, the moves that they made leading up to the draft. And at the draft, they went from having 0 first round picks to 3 in the first round by making trades. The next trade we have to talk about is another cap dump, this one between the Coyotes and the Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers sent Zach Kassian to the Arizona Coyotes along with the number 29 pick in the draft, a 2024 third round pick, and a 2025 second round pick. In exchange for all of that, the Edmonton Oilers got the 32nd overall selection in the draft from the Coyotes, so they moved down 3 spots in the first round, also had to give up a third and a second in future drafts to rid themselves of Zach Kassian's $3.2 million cap hit. With the Oilers making this move and Duncan Keith retiring today, the Edmonton Oilers now have like $20 million in cap space just around there. They can really be big time players in free agency. Now, as a Red Wings fan, speaking from past experiences, it doesn't always go the greatest when Ken Holland has access to a lot of cap space in free agency, so we'll see what he does, but obviously the more cap space the merrier. I think this was a fine cap dump from the Edmonton Oilers, and for the Arizona Coyotes, they continue to just pile and pile on future draft picks to take on bad contracts. The next trade we have to break down is involving my Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings acquired the rights to goaltender Ville Husso from the St. Louis Blues in exchange for a third round pick in the draft. Obviously, Ville Husso was set to become an unrestricted free agent, so by making this trade, Steve Yzerman allowed himself to get the negotiating rights to Ville Husso before any other team could try to sign him, and it definitely didn't take long after making this trade for the Red Wings to sign Husso. 3-year deal, a $4.95 million AAV, and I will admit I think that is a little bit rich for a goaltender who only has 64 career games, but he did just have a .919 save percentage this past season, was 25-7-6. Husso had a fantastic regular season despite struggling in the postseason. If that is who Ville Husso is, who we saw in this most recent regular season, then I think this is going to be great for the Red Wings. They now have 2 starting caliber goaltenders in Nedeljkovic and Husso, if they're on top of their game, of course. Goaltending is obviously really random. It's tough to predict, but I think Detroit puts themselves in a pretty good position now with these two as their netminders to get above average goaltending for the next couple of seasons. Now, I do want to say one thing, because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, oh, another steal by Steve Yzerman masterclass. Honestly, I think this is a great deal for the Blues. Like, a 3rd round pick for a UFA's rights is fantastic, I think, especially if St. Louis didn't think they had any chance to bring him back, and obviously when they have Binnington on his current contract, they weren't going to extend Ville Husso to the kind of deal he got from Detroit, a $5 million AAV. That just wouldn't make sense for them. That would be way too much money tied up in 2 goaltenders. This next deal we have to talk about is another one involving a goaltender. The New Jersey Devils acquired Vitek Vanacek and the number 46 overall pick, so a 2nd rounder from the Washington Capitals. So basically the New Jersey Devils moved down in the 2nd round, attached a 3rd rounder, and got Vitek Vanacek for making that deal. I think this is a decent gamble for the Devils. Vitek Vanacek has put up fine numbers in the past couple of seasons with the Washington Capitals. Nothing spectacular, a 908 save percentage in both of his full seasons. You know, I've said in recent videos that my one question mark when it comes to the Devils and their future and the potential of them being a really good team one day still relies on the goaltending situation, and I'm not sure if this trade really makes me feel any better about that goaltending situation, but hey, Vanacek has proven that he can put up decent numbers in a tandem situation, so hopefully him and Mackenzie Blackwood can give the Devils the kind of goaltending they need. This next deal took place between the Hurricanes and the Flyers. The Philadelphia Flyers acquired Tony DeAngelo from the Carolina Hurricanes, or his RFA rights because he was up for a new contract, in exchange for a 2022 4th, a 2023 3rd, and a 2024 2nd. And then after making the trade, the Flyers signed DeAngelo to a 2-year, $10 million deal, so a $5 million AAV. And man, I just don't know what Philadelphia is doing. Obviously, Tony DeAngelo is very talented offensively, had like 50 plus points this season, but he cannot defend at all, has to play sheltered minutes at 5-on-5, and now you look at the Flyers, they have 10 million tied up in DeAngelo and Ristolainen, who both just can't defend for the lives of them. Like, yeah, DeAngelo's obviously going to put up the points and stuff, be a great power play quarterback, but again, he's just not good defensively, and I feel like a good, steady, responsible defensive defenseman is kind of something the Flyers needed more than another offensive defenseman. Also, I think John Tortorella and Tony DeAngelo and that whole dynamic, I mean, that's going to be pretty interesting to see how those two get along, because as we all know, if you don't buy in and play a 200-foot game, be responsible in your own end, John Tortorella is going to staple you to the bench. Tony DeAngelo's a hothead. Don't know how that's going to go. For the Hurricanes, I think a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 4th is great value in return for a guy that you signed as a UFA last offseason to a 1-year, $1 million deal. They got a great season out of him. Carolina was obviously a system that DeAngelo could thrive in because they had so many other good defensemen that are responsible in their own end. They were easily able to shelter his minutes, so I'm going to be pretty interested to see how he does in Philadelphia now. Now for the final deal we have to go over in this video, the San Jose Sharks acquire Luke Kunin from the Nashville Predators in exchange for John Leonard and a 2023 3rd round pick. John Leonard is a 23-year-old winger, former 6th round pick, played 14 games for the Sharks this past season, but spent the majority of the year in the AHL where he put up pretty decent numbers. I really don't have a strong opinion on this trade one way or the other. I guess the Sharks getting Luke Kunin is cool. He's got decent finishing ability, 24 years old, has had a 15-goal season, had 13 this past year. A 3rd round pick and a fringe NHLer for a guy like that, probably worth the gamble for San Jose. So that is going to wrap up this video. Those are my thoughts on all of the trades that took place at the NHL Draft. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. If your team made any trades, be sure to let me know how you feel about that deal down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want to stay up to date with all of the NHL trades, news, and signings throughout the offseason, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.